Good day, everyone. Good day, class. Let us begin our discussion on assessment in learning with our discussion for Unit 1, Preliminary Concepts and Recent Trends in Assessment in Learning. Again, I am Dr. Joel I. Alvarez, your subject instructor for Prof Ed 6. Imagine walking into a doctor's clinic because you have been feeling sick for several days. Before giving you medicine, would the doctor immediately prescribe treatment without asking questions or conducting examinations? We all experience going to a clinic. Kapag nagpunta tayong clinic, hindi naman agad-agad ay may reseta, right? So, of course not. The doctor first gathers information, checking your temperature, blood pressure, symptoms, and perhaps requesting laboratory tests if needed. Only after collecting sufficient evidence can the doctor make an informed decision. Teaching also follows the same principle. As educators, we cannot simply assume that learning has taken place because we have finished discussing a lesson. We need evidence, we need data, we need information that tells us where our learners are, what they have already mastered, what misconceptions remain, and what interventions should be provided. This is precisely the role of assessment. Throughout this lesson or unit, we will discover that assessment is much more than giving quizzes and examinations. It is a continuous process that guides teaching, improves learning, and ensures that educational decisions are supported by evidence rather than assumptions. By the end of this discussion, you will realize that assessment is not the end of learning. It is actually one of its most powerful driving forces. Our first unit introduces the foundation of educational assessment. Before we learn how to construct quality examinations or interpret assessment results, we must first understand what assessment really means. Many beginning teachers think assessment simply means giving tests and recording grades. However, modern educational assessment is far more comprehensive. And more than that, educational assessment has significantly evolved over the years. Traditionally, education focused heavily on memorization. Students were expected to recall facts, definitions, formulas, and dates. Success was often determined by how much information one could remember during an examination. Today, however, education emphasizes higher order thinking skills. Learners are expected to analyze situations, evaluate evidence, solve authentic problems, collaborate with others, and even create original products. Because learning has changed, assessment must also change. Modern assessment measures not only what students know, but also what they understand, what they can perform, and how they apply knowledge in real life situations. Therefore, understanding these preliminary concepts allows future teachers to design assessments that truly reflect meaningful learning. Let's begin with the most fundamental question. What exactly is assessment? When many people hear the word assessment, they immediately think of examinations, quizzes, or report cards. But assessment actually begins long after grades are computed. Assessment is the systematic process of gathering information about students' learning. Notice the word systematic. This means that assessment is planned, organized, purposeful, and aligned with learning objectives. It is not random, it follows a systematic procedure. Every assessment activity should answer a very important question. What evidence do I need to determine whether learning has occurred? Think about detectives. Detective Conan, if you're familiar with. Think about Detective Conan investigating a crime. Detectives never conclude immediately based on one piece of evidence. Instead, they gather fingerprints, interview witnesses, analyze CCTV footage, and examine physical evidence before reaching conclusions. Teachers function similarly. So every classroom activity provides evidence of learning. Every student response tells a story. Every project reveals understanding. Every classroom discussion provides clues about misconceptions. Assessment, therefore, is educational investigation. So basically, assessment is a method of gathering your school performance data that aims to collect information to specify and verify problems concerning your learning achievement. But let us dive deeper into the meaning of assessment. As presented in your screen, assessment further explains that teachers use assessment to make instructional decisions. This is perhaps the most important function of assessment. Imagine teaching a lesson on fractions. After your discussion, you administer a short formative quiz. Out of 40 students, 32 answered correctly or incorrectly, rather. Now you face two options. First option is to continue teaching the next lesson because it is already listed in your lesson plan. So as planned, after a discussion, you will continue with the next topic. However, your second option is aligned to the results of your formative assessment, which reveals that 32 out of 40 students answered the questions incorrectly. The second option for you now is to stop, analyze the assessment results, identify misconceptions, reteach difficult concepts, and provide additional learning activities. So among these two options, which option demonstrate effective teaching? Clearly, the second one. Assessment transforms teaching from simply delivering content into responsive instruction. Educational decisions should always be evidence-based. Assessment provides that evidence. Without assessment, teaching becomes guesswork. With assessment, teaching becomes informed decision making. This explains why educational experts often describe assessment as the compass of instruction. It continuously tells teachers where learners are, how far they have been progressed, and what direction instruction should take next. Now that we understand what assessment is, let us explore one of the most significant developments in modern education, the different purposes and approaches of assessment. Educational assessment is no longer viewed as a single event conducted at the end of the instruction. Instead, assessment is now integrated throughout the teaching and learning process. Modern education recognizes three complementary approaches. We have the assessment for learning, assessment of learning, and assessment as learning. Think of these three approaches as three different camera lenses. One lens focuses on where students are going, another captures where students have been, and the third allows students to see themselves. Each serves a unique purpose, yet together they provide a complete picture of learning. Understanding these approaches enables teachers and even you future teachers to select appropriate assessment strategies that promote meaningful and lifelong learning. Let us begin with assessment for learning, commonly known as the formative assessment. Imagine that you are driving from Cabanatuan City to Baguio City using GPS. Throughout your journey, your navigation system constantly tells you whether you are on the correct route or not. If you make a wrong turn, it immediately recalculates your route instead of waiting until you reach the end destination. Assessment for learning functions exactly the same way. Rather than waiting until the end of the lesson to determine whether students have learned, teachers continuously gather evidence during instruction. Again, this is conducted during instruction. This allows teachers or this allows them to identify misconceptions immediately and adjust their teaching strategies accordingly. Notice that the emphasis is not on assigning grades. Instead, the goal is to answer three essential questions. First, what students already know? Teachers begin by determining learners' prior knowledge. Every student enters the classroom with different experiences and levels of understanding. Recognizing these differences helps teachers design appropriate instruction. Second, what can students do? Learning is not limited to remembering information. Students must demonstrate understanding by solving problems, performing tasks, communicating ideas, and applying concepts. Third, where are the learning gaps? Assessment reveals misconceptions before they become permanent. For example, suppose an elementary mathematics teacher is teaching fractions. After explaining equivalent fractions, the teacher asks students to use fraction strips to compare one half and one fourths. Several students incorrectly conclude that 2/4 is larger because 4 is greater than 2. Instead of continuing to the next lesson, the teacher realizes that students misunderstand the concept of denominator and numerator. This misconception becomes valuable information. The teacher modifies the lesson, uses additional visual models, and provide guided practice. This is formative assessment in action. Notice that the assessment itself did not improve learning. Rather, the teacher's response to the assessment produced learning improvement. This highlights an important principle. Assessment without feedback has little educational value. The power of formative assessment lies in the instructional decisions that follow. After students have completed instruction, teachers must determine the extent to which learning objectives have been achieved. This brings us to assessment of learning, more commonly known as the summative assessment. Unlike formative assessment, summative assessment occurs after a unit, grading period, or semester, or course has been completed. Think of graduation ceremonies. Students receive their diplomas only after completing all program requirements. Similarly, summative assessment certifies learning after instruction has concluded. Its primary purposes are first, determining whether intended learning outcomes have been achieved, assigning grades, documenting student achievement, and providing accountability to schools, parents, and educational institutions. The examples of summative assessment are quarterly examinations, final examinations, national achievement tests, licensure examinations, comprehensive projects, research defenses, and final performance tasks. Consider nursing education. Before graduating, nursing students undergo practical examinations and licensure tests. These assessments determine whether students possess sufficient competence to enter professional practice. Likewise, teachers administer summative assessments to determine whether students have successfully mastered course competencies. However, it is important to remember that summative assessment should not be the only form of assessment used in education. If teachers rely solely on final examinations, they discover learning problems only after it is too late to intervene. Therefore, effective instruction balances formative and summative assessment. The third approach is perhaps the most transformative. It is called assessment as learning. Notice the wording carefully. Assessment is not simply for learning. Assessment is not merely of learning. Assessment itself becomes learning. This approach places students at the center of the learning process. Rather than depending entirely on teachers for evaluation, students actively monitor, regulate, and improve their own learning. In this presentation, it highlights one important concept, which is metacognition. Metacognition literally means thinking about one's own thinking. Educational psychologist John Plabel introduced this concept to explain how learners become aware of their cognitive processes. Students ask themselves questions such as, do I really understand this lesson? Which concepts confuse me? What strategy or study strategy works best for me? How can I improve my performance? So imagine preparing for the licensure examination for teachers in the future. After taking a practice examination, you carefully analyze every incorrect answer. You identify weak areas such as educational psychology or curriculum development, for instance. Instead of simply checking your score, you adjust your study plan to focus on these weaknesses. That entire process represents assessment as learning. Students become more reflective learners rather than passive recipients of grades. Teachers also facilitate this process through reflective journals, learning logs, self-rating scales, checklists, peer assessment, goal-setting activities, and portfolio reflections. Research consistently shows that students who regularly engage in self-assessment develop greater independence, motivation, responsibility, and lifelong learning skills. Ultimately, the goal of education is not merely producing students who pass examination. It is producing individuals capable of evaluating and continuously improving themselves throughout life. We have now explored the three major approaches to assessment. We have assessment for learning, which improves instruction while learning is taking place, assessment of learning, which measures achievement after instruction has been completed, and assessment as learning, which empowers students to become reflective and self-directed learners. Notice that these three approaches do not compete with one another. Instead, they complement each other. An effective teacher integrates all three approaches to create a balanced assessment system that supports learning before, during, and after instruction. Now that we understand why we assess, our next question becomes equally important. How do we assess? Should we use traditional paper and pen examinations, or should we require students to demonstrate their knowledge through authentic performances? The answer lies in the next discussions to come, the classification of assessment methods. Now that we understand the purposes of assessment, the next important question is, how do teachers gather evidence of learning? Educational assessment generally uses two major methods, which are traditional assessment and authentic assessment. These methods are not competitors. Instead, they complement each other depending on the intended learning outcomes. Think of a medical student. If we want to determine whether the student remembers the parts of a human heart, a written examination may be sufficient. However, if we want to determine whether the student can properly perform cardiopulmonary resuscitation or CPR, a written examination alone is clearly not inadequate. The assessment method must always match the learning objective. This principle is known as the assessment alignment. The idea that the assessment strategy should accurately measure the knowledge, skills, or attitudes that students are expected to develop. The first classification is the traditional assessment method. Traditional assessment primarily refers to paper and pencil tests where students respond to written questions under standardized conditions. So historically, this has been the most widely used form of classroom assessment before it is relatively easy because it is relatively easy to administer, score, and analyze. Traditional assessments are particularly useful for measuring factual knowledge, conceptual understanding, and even computational skills and vocabulary mastery. So basically, we are using traditional assessments in determining the mastery of academic content. So there are two identified major categories of traditional assessment. So we have the constructed response and the selected response. Constructed response items require students to generate their own answers instead of selecting from predetermined choices. So examples of these tests are completion tests, short answer questions, restricted essays, extended essays, and problem solving exercises. So for example, instead of asking students which formula is used to solve a quadratic equation, so the teacher may ask, solve the quadratic equation using the quadratic formula and explain every step. Constructed responses measure not only the final answer, but also the student's reasoning process. They encourage critical thinking, organization of ideas, and communication skills. However, because students create their own responses, scoring can become more subjective unless teachers use clear and objective scoring rubrics. Under the selected response, which is the second category, this type of in this type of assessment, students choose the correct answer from several alternatives provided by the teacher. So we have the common examples, which are multiple choice, true or false, or alternate response, matching type, and so on. So these assessments are widely used because they can efficiently measure learning from a large number of students within a limited amount of time. Properly written multiple choice questions can assess not only recall but also comprehension, application, and even analysis. So, for example, instead of asking students to memorize a formula, a teacher may present a real life situation requiring students to identify the most appropriate mathematical solution. Nevertheless, teachers should remember that poorly constructed selected response tests often encourage guessing rather than genuine understanding. Therefore, item construction requires careful planning and adherence to sound assessment principles. The second major classification is the authentic assessment. So, modern education recognizes the success in school should prepare students for success in life. Because of this, students should demonstrate learning in situations that resemble real life or real world experiences. So, authentic assessment asks a very different question. Instead of asking, can students answer this question? It asks, can students apply what they have learned? Basically, we have two broad examples. So we have the product assessment and the performance-based assessment. So product assessment is an assessment wherein students create tangible outputs that demonstrate their understanding. Examples includes portfolio, scrapbooks, research papers, multimedia presentations, models, brochures, lesson plans, infographics, and even digital learning resources. These products reflect students' ability to synthesize information and produce meaningful work. Moreover, performance assessment are those assessment wherein students demonstrate skills through actual performance. So we have the examples like role playing, debates, oral presentations, public speaking, demonstrations, experiments, teaching demonstrations, dramatic presentations, and even dance performances. Consider that you are a future teacher enrolled in assessment in learning. Instead of answering 50 multiple choice questions about classroom teaching, so I can ask you to conduct an actual micro teaching session where you will prepare lesson plans, deliver instruction, ask questions, and even assess learners. This type of assessment provides stronger evidence of your teaching competence because it mirrors real classroom practice. Authentic assessment therefore emphasizes application rather than memorization. So at this point, it is important to clarify a common misconception. Many people believe that authentic assessment is always better than traditional assessment. That is not necessarily true. Both have strengths and limitations. Traditional assessment is highly efficient for measuring knowledge across many students. Authentic assessment, on the other hand, provides richer evidence of higher order thinking and practical competence. So, an effective teacher knows when to use each. So, for example, if your learning objective is to determine whether students remember scientific terminology, of course, a written quiz is appropriate. However, if your objective is to determine whether students can conduct scientific investigations, authentic assessment or performance tasks become essential. The assessment method should always follow the intended learning outcome, not the other way around. This reflects the principle of constructive alignment, where learning objectives, instructional activities, and assessment methods work together to achieve meaningful learning. At this point, we already understand that assessment is more than administering tests. We also know that assessment can be formative, summative, or reflective, and that it may take traditional or authentic forms. But an important question still remains. Why do teachers assess students? Many learners believe assessment exists simply because to determine who passes and who fails. However, educational assessment serves for more significant purposes. It influences learning, teaching, curriculum improvement, and even professional development. So let us examine each purpose presented in your screen. So assessment provides feedback to improve learning. Feedback is information that helps learners understand where they currently are, where they need to be, and how they can get there. Notice that effective feedback is not merely telling students that they scored 18 out of 30. A score alone tells students how much they achieve, but not how much they can improve. So constructive feedback explains what the students did well, where misconceptions exist, why mistakes occurred, and even what specific actions should be taken next. Imagine learning how to play the piano. If your instructor simply says, you made 5 mistakes, will your performance improve? Probably not. So, however, if the instructor points out that your left hand timing is inconsistent and demonstrate proper finger placement, you now have concrete information for improvement. Assessment works the same way. As educational researcher John Hattie emphasized, feedback is among the most powerful influences on students' achievement because it bridges the gap between the current performance and desired learning outcomes. Second, assessment diagnoses strengths and weaknesses. The second purpose is diagnosis. Teachers function much like physicians. Doctors diagnose illnesses before prescribing treatment. Likewise, teachers diagnose learning difficulties before planning instruction. Assessment identifies such as concepts students already understand, its skills that require reinforcement, misconceptions, and persistent learning difficulties. Suppose you're a math teacher that administers a diagnostic test before teaching algebra. The results reveal that many students still struggled with operations involving integers. Instead of immediately introducing algebraic concepts or algebraic equations, the teacher first reviews prerequisite concepts. Without diagnosis, instruction becomes ineffective because new knowledge is built upon weak foundations. Diagnostic assessment therefore allows teachers to provide timely interventions before leaving or learning gaps become larger. Third, so assessment develops self-assessment skills. One goal of education is not simply producing students who depend on teachers. Rather, education should develop lifelong learners capable of evaluating their own progress. Assessment encourages students to ask reflective questions such as, do I achieve today's learning objective? Which concepts remain difficult? What study strategies work best? What should I improve before the next lesson? This process develops metacognitive skills or the ability to think about one's own thinking. Research consistently shows that students who regularly engage in self assessment become more motivated, responsible, and self directed learners. Eventually, they are no longer study merely to earn grades. Instead, they study because they recognize the value of continuous personal development. The fourth one is assessment provides a profile of learning rather. Learning is multidimensional. A single examination cannot fully describe what students know and can do. Teachers therefore collect multiple forms of evidence over time. These evidences may include quizzes, projects, portfolios, laboratory reports, presentations, classroom participation, reflective journals, and even performance tasks. Therefore, together, these assessment results create a learning profile that reflects students' academic growth. Think of a student's portfolio. Rather than showing only one final product, a portfolio documents progress from the beginning to the end of instruction. It demonstrates how students develop their skills over time. This makes assessment continuous rather than isolated. One of the more familiar purposes of assessment is the number 5, which is determining whether students meet course requirements. Educational institutions must certify whether students have achieved the expected learning competencies. The information becomes basis for assigning grades, promotion to higher grade levels, graduation, academic awards, or even certification. While grades remain important, effective teachers understand that grades should represent genuine learning rather than simply compliance with classroom requirements. Grades should accurately reflect the evidence collected throughout the learning process. The next one is assessment extends beyond the classroom. Many professions require competency examinations before individuals are allowed to practice. Examples are the licensure examination for teachers, nursing licensure examination, certified public accountant licensure examination, engineering board examinations, and many more. These assessments protect society by ensuring the professionals possess the required knowledge, skills, and ethical competence before serving the public. Imagine allowing someone to practice medicine without demonstrating competence. The consequences could be disastrous. Professional assessment therefore requires safeguards public trust and professional quality. The seventh purpose is the assessment guides future educational decisions. Students often discover their strengths through assessment results. A learner who consistently performs well in mathematics may pursue engineering, statistics, data science, or mathematics education. Another learner who excels in communication may pursue journalism, law, or education. Assessment therefore becomes a guide rather than merely an evaluation. It helps students recognize their potential and make better educational decisions. Eight is assessment ensures educational quality. Assessment does not evaluate students alone. It also evaluates educational programs. Schools analyze assessment results to determine whether their curriculum effectively develops the intended competencies. If assessment consistently reveals poor performance, student performance in a particular subject, administrators may review curriculum content, instructional materials, teaching strategies, faculty development, or resource allocation. Thus, assessment contributes to continuous quality improvement within educational institutions. In higher education, accreditation agencies often examine assessment evidence to determine whether academic programs meet national and international quality standards. 9. Assessment improves teaching. Perhaps one of the most overlooked purposes of assessment is improving teachers themselves. Every assessment provides teachers with feedback about their instruction. If most students successfully achieve the intended learning outcomes, this suggests that teaching strategies were effective. However, if many students struggle with the same concepts, teachers are encouraged to reflect on questions such as: was my explanation sufficiently clear? Did I improve enough examples or did I provide enough examples? Were my learning activities appropriate? Should I modify my instructional approach? And even other questions. Notice that assessment evaluates both learners and instruction. Excellent teachers do not ask, why did my students fail? Instead, they ask, what can I improve to help my students succeed? This mindset transforms assessment into a powerful instrument for professional growth. So from our discussion, one important realization emerges. Assessment is not designed to punish students. It is designed to improve learning, guide instruction, support decision making, and enhance educational quality. However, before teachers can evaluate learning, they must first collect evidence. One of the most common tools for gathering this evidence is the test. But are the terms test, measurement, assessment, and evaluation synonymous? Many people use these words interchangeably. Yet, educational measurement they have in education measurement they have distinct meanings. So in our next sessions, we will begin by exploring the concepts of testing, the foundation upon which measurement, assessment, and evaluation are built. So for this session, we will be stopping here and then to be continued next session. Okay?